All right, welcome to Timely Talk with Emma Foulkes.
Hey, this is Andrew Snorton, hoping you guys are having a great day and a great week so far.
Yeah, we've been having a great week. As you can see, Andrew's is representing the Atlanta colors this week.
That's right. Rise up.
And I'm not. I'm wearing Yankee blue.
That's all right. The Yankees are good too. But shouts to best wishes to the Falcons. Go ahead and do what you need to do to take it home. They have a tough opponent, but they're beatable. Just like I said, just look at Brady funny and he'll start getting scared.
Anyway, so today we wanted to have a conversation about something. I had to go to a funeral.
Yeah.
After the last recording session that we did, and it just kind of sparked some things. And Andrew and I were sitting here talking about having conversations.
Yeah. Well, first off, before we get into it, seriously, continued prayers and condolences to you and your family. It's a challenge. It's a challenge on a number of levels, so thanks for being willing to open up and, hopefully what you share and what we share is going to help somebody out there.
Definitely. So, one of the things, some of the pushback I often get from, people our age, and people our age, we're gonna call us the sandwich generation. And those are people who are working, they've got a career, and then they have kids that they're either trying to get through college or that have come back, like boomerang kids. And in the midst of doing all this, you may have to help your parents out. So the worst time to find out that your parents need help
is almost any time.
It's any time, but it's after something has already happened. So we wanted to talk about, having that difficult conversation, and let's just look at it as the other talk. You remember when your parents had to talk with you?
Which one? There were so many to choose from.
The birds and the bees talk.
From the birds and the bees to responsibility.
Don't
but
do
I think
drugs.
that too. Just about everything. But I think part of what makes it challenge when we all look back, we're used to our parents having that talk with us about serious issues and serious life issues. So it's a challenge. I know for me, it's a challenge because you're so used to seeing your parents in one realm. And it's hard sometimes to come to grips with they're getting older. It's not to say they can't do things, but you have to take more of a lead. So all of those life lessons they've taught you, you hope you're able to incorporate that in having those types of conversations.
See, I think one of the things that'll make it easier, and it's not to trick your parents, but it's almost to condition them to look at you in a responsible light. Because in many cases, what will happen is our parents are still going to see us as the same little people that they used to diaper and, feed and bathe and do all this stuff, and they're not really seeing us as the adults that we are. So one of the things that I would recommend is having a financial meeting with your parents. And having a financial meeting with your parents on the onset does not necessarily mean asking them about their finances. You want to ease them into it, and you want to expose yourself a little bit because you're going to be asking them to expose themselves.
So let me ask you this. Do you think when you're easing into it, do you talk conceptually about, like in general terms, some things that all of us have to pay closer attention to? Because I guess if you're putting it on them, it's like you're dictating. But if you're saying this is something that all of us have to watch out for, all of us have to be aware of, let's say, what your life's going to look like in retirement.
I say even before that, before you even talk to them about what their life is going to look like in retirement, you start having financial meetings. And what I mean by that is, say you've got a child and you're trying to determine what college they're going to go to. Bring your parents into that conversation. If you're looking at buying another house, pull your parents into that conversation. Any financial thing that you're comfortable with, even if you're a little uncomfortable with, bring your parents into the conversation so they can see that you respect their opinions about money. And then when you're asking them their opinions about money, their opinion should be based in fact, not what Miss Loretta next door, what her opinion is. Does that make sense? So that way you're calling your parents or have them come over and you're having financial conversations. One of the issues with a lot of our parents' generation is they don't like to talk about money. Talking about money is taboo.
Well, there's a lot of things people don't like to talk about.
Well,
so that's going to be one of them.
That is one of them, but that's one of the ways you start having these conversations first with them, and that way by the time, you start doing it when they're in their late 50s, early 60s, and that way they're used to bringing or having financial conversations with you, so when they get to the point where predators start coming after them, because like right now it's tax season. So now you've got all these scam artists
Oh, yeah.
calling parents and grandparents on the phone, telling them that they owe money and give me your bank account information.
Let me ask you this question. Based on what you just shared and based on your most recent experience, how did that conversation go with that particular family member?
Well, with that family member, I don't know per se, but I have had to have that conversation with my parents. And my relationship with my parents is very new age. My mother, she raised me to kind of speak my mind, etc. But those are still difficult conversations to have.
Right.
And so I've already asked them, every time something happens to a friend of mine, or like with my cousin, that gives me an opportunity to bring something up to my parents. Like, I'm never going to ask you for your keys, but at that time, when it's time to ask you for the keys, how should I go about the conversation? Like, I'm asking you for permission to tell me how to deal with this when it happens. We ended up having a conversation at the table about taking the keys away from my grandfather, and I found out a whole lot of other stuff, so it's a good conversation starter is to bring up something that happened to someone or something that, something that they can relate to.
Those are some really good points. No, seriously, because like you said, these are talks that we're going to have, and if there are ways out there or examples out there that can help us kind of be more of that bridge builder, it's going to help us, let alone people that are out there listening.
Yeah, we have to have the conversations with our parents, because if we don't, what ends up happening, there's a whole lot of emotions that happens when, when it's sprung on you, that you're going to have to help take care of your parents, and you haven't had a conversation. So one, you're already upset or feeling scared or afraid because something's wrong with your parent, and then on top of that, there may be, there's going to be an emotional component to it, and then there may even be a financial component to it. So you're doing yourself a disservice by not having that conversation with your parents.
So in other words, regardless of how difficult it is, at least you'd rather start as best as possible beforehand, before it's too late.
Do it before you need to do it. It's much easier to have that serious conversation if you've been comfortable talking about stuff all along.
Sounds sensible.
All right. If you have any questions about how to talk to your parents, or if you want to share with us some of the stories that you, ways that you've talked to your parents, feel free to email us at timelytalk404@gmail.com.